already spilling fuel on the deck of the truck.
We got a fire extinguisher going, ready to go.
You can see the fuel dripping down, guys. Right there.
All right, so let me tell you the story of the day. So I'm here on Vancouver Island. I live in Victoria, just outside Victoria, in a town called Langford. I drove north about an hour and a half in the Demonator to actually go film an interview. I was taking the truck to go film an interview. I was fortunate enough to have our local member of parliament that represents my community, a huge chunk of Vancouver Island, where we off-road, where we go camping, where my friends go hunting, where people go fishing. He agreed to come out for a ride in the Demonator. We're going to go off-roading with someone who works in Ottawa, in our federal government, right next to our Prime Minister. And it was a huge opportunity. I want to try to advocate more for the off-road community, for overlanding enthusiasts. You guys, we have a lot of issues on Vancouver Island with access to land and lakes and rivers. And I thought, if I can use my voice, what I've built here, to try to share that with others, who knows what might happen in the future. He agreed to come out in the truck to have a talk about what we do, we go off-roading, we go camping, we go overlanding, to find out about our hobby. And I wanted to find out a little bit about what he does. He was going to come for a ride with us. It was going to be super cool. I was up island in the truck about half an hour before I was going to start the interview. I had the truck all set up with GoPros and cameras, all the different angles, so that it would be entertaining and interesting for you guys. We were going to rip down the trail in the Demonator, my 800 horsepower supercharged Hemi Jeep Gladiator. So I got to the trail ahead of time. I want to be prepared, but I also wanted to go shoot some B-roll, some shots before, so I could put some cameras down, drive by them. So we're doing that during the interview. So I pre-ran the trail, took the Demonator out. It was running great. Super excited. I couldn't even sleep the night before doing this interview. I was so amped up, so excited to have this opportunity. And I'm coming back down to the trail to the start where we agreed we would meet. And I could smell gas coming from the HVAC system in the truck, like raw fuel. And I thought, maybe one of my jerry cans, for some reason, in the back spilled. So I pull up, shut the Jeep off, jump out, and of course, our member of parliament's name is Alistair. He's pulling up, and I'm trying to stay as professional, as calm as I can, but I'm like, hey, I've got gas, something's leaking, I can smell fuel in the truck, I need to just give me a minute. And I look under the truck, he looks under the truck, he's like, is that gas? And there's literally fuel pouring out from the bottom of my Gladiator, pouring out on the exhaust, on the catalytic converter, on the heat wrap, everything. It's pouring out and dripping on the ground. This is when I go into panic mode. You don't want to see raw fuel coming out of your truck, especially onto the exhaust. And I honestly don't know how it didn't catch on fire, guys. Like, this is what I say, like, this is not clickbait. This is as close as you possibly can get to your truck catching on fire. My first immediate reaction was to grab a bottle of water that I had sitting in my console and throw it on the exhaust system, try to wash as much fuel off as I could, but to cool it down. The Jeep didn't catch on fire. I wanted to still do the interview. And Alistair, if you're watching this, I'm assuming you're watching this, I appreciate it. Thank you for working with me and being cool and still doing the interview. It was going to be like a comedians in cars type thing where we dialogue back and forth, I ask questions, we talk about what we both do, but we're ripping in the truck. But I still want to do the interview because I thought it was important. And so I'm going to include this interview, my Canadian friends. I think this is an opportunity to learn about what does a member of parliament do. It's very much like for my friends down in the States, a representative in the House, I think it's called, like a House representative. So we got to talked about what he does, and talked about some of his experiences being a politician, and we talked about some of my experiences making YouTube videos, off-roading. So I want to share that interview with you guys. I know it didn't go the way we anticipated it to, but I'm hoping for a couple things. One, if other notable politicians, other people that are responsible for representing our communities, if enough people watch this, we can get more people to talk to and talk about things that are important to us, have a voice. So I appreciate if you guys stick around and watch the interview. It's not a political interview, guys. It's not about left versus right. It's not about big agendas and things going on in the States and some of the leaders in Canada. It's about what does Alistair do for a job, and talking about local things. Alistair's been our member of Parliament since 2015, and whether or not he wins in our upcoming election really doesn't matter for this video. I hope that other representatives, other politicians, other people of influence will still listen to us, will still let me talk to them, and maybe come for a ride in the truck, because I don't really care, which way you vote. What's important to me is that we can keep access to our recreation areas and our lakes and our rivers and all the places that we like to go and enjoy. So I'll talk to anybody, and if anybody's watching this and is in politics and wants to chat, or maybe it can inspire some of you guys to reach out to anybody that might make a difference for where you are. I'll leave you with the interview. I appreciate if you hang around and watch it. Yeah, at the end I'll talk a little bit about how we got the truck home and what are the next steps. So this is Alistair McGregor, our local member of Parliament here in our region on southern Vancouver Island. So what is your riding? Tell us your riding. What area do you represent for us?
Well, awesome to be with you, Casey. Thanks for this. So my riding, it's called Cowichan Malahat Langford, which the name kind of says it all. It goes from Chemainus as its northernmost boundary all the way down through most of the Cowichan Valley to include Langford. And then it goes out west to include amazing communities like Lake Cowichan and Port Renfrew. So it's a pretty big area. It's about 4,700 square kilometers of beautiful southern Vancouver Island.
And we're standing in it right now.
We are in it right now.
And so you guys that are watching the videos, a lot of the time when I'm out camping on Vancouver Island, it is in this area that Alistair and his team represents here. So Alistair, tell me, what is it like being a member of Parliament?
It is probably a job like no other. Here in this riding, we are about as far away from Ottawa as you can get.
No kidding.
So just so everyone knows, for when I travel to Ottawa regularly when the House is in session, I measure my travel time from door to door, and it's about 9 hours each way. It requires at least 2 flights. Wow. But it's an amazing honor. The Cowichan Valley has been my home for 35 years, right? I grew up here. I'm raising my family here. And it's a huge honor to represent the area that you grew up in all the way out in Ottawa. So it's a job where you have to really stay in touch with your local community. You have to understand the issues that drive the people that live here and what they want to see you fight for. And you can't forget those people when you're all the way in Ottawa. You have to really make sure you keep a connection with the folks, with the region, what its priorities are. And it's a wild job with every day is different.
Yeah, I bet.
That's sort of the broad overview.
Every day is different. That's sort of like making YouTube videos.
Totally.
Every day is different. Just like we're now not in the truck. We're out here talking about things that are important to us. In Canada, we have members of Parliament. So even our Prime Minister is just a member of Parliament as well.
Yes, everyone who holds a seat in the House of Commons, they're members of Parliament first and foremost, and that is the tradition of responsible government in Canada. We make sure that our government, the members of Cabinet and the Prime Minister, are members of Parliament first. So they are derived from that House, and we have a unique system of government in Canada. It's very different from the United States, where you have Congress very separate from the White House. Here, our executive branch, our cabinet, actually sits within the legislature. So, that government can only survive with the confidence of the House as a whole. And yes, that is a unique thing. You're a legislator first as a member of Parliament, and if you're lucky enough to be in the party that gets to form government, you might get the tap on the shoulder and be asked to serve in cabinet.
So in theory, you could be Prime Minister if your party
was the governing party that formed government, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So for Prime Minister, it's usually reserved for the leader of the party. So I don't know if I have that level of ambition at this moment in my life. I'm pretty busy just being an MP.
Theoretical. Theoretical situation.
But yes, for the party that gets the most seats in the House of Commons, that's generally what the Governor General looks to ask to form government after we have an election. And yes, if I was theoretically a part of the party, a member of the party that had gotten the most seats in an election, I could be asked to serve in cabinet, absolutely.
Yeah. So back to the island though.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot more that a member of parliament does other than just go to Ottawa, which is why, you know, you and I connected and we wanted to talk because we're out here off-roading and overlanding and camping.
Yeah.
What are some things that kind of go on in the community other than going to the House of Commons to Ottawa all the time? There's a whole other side of your job when you're representing the community. What kind of stuff are you focused on or working on?
Yeah, so I would argue actually that that's probably the biggest part of my job is staying connected with my community. So in Duncan, I have a constituency office and I have a great team of people that work there for me because we have a lot of people who come in and seek help. So, you know, we have people who will email us, who will phone us, and sometimes just walk in and they want help with federal government programs and services. They sometimes need intervention if a federal government agency is not treating them well. And my job in the community is, you know, my staff really kind of pack my schedule up. I take as much opportunity as I can to be out and about in the community. You know, the lovely thing about living here is we've always got some kind of a community event going on, and that's a great opportunity for me to drop by and meet lots of people and just make myself open and accessible. Because I believe for any elected official, no matter what party you belong to, being open and accessible to your constituents is a number one priority. You have to have that. And being a part of the community, helping people out, making sure that you're really listening to their concerns and that they're eventually represented in Ottawa, that is probably my number one job.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate you taking time to meet with me and my audience. And there's a lot of people here on Vancouver Island and within your riding that follow my content and my videos. And I've been out off-roading and camping with so many people, I can't even remember them all anymore.
And what a beautiful area you got to do it in.
We're so lucky. I was driving across the Malahat this morning, and you can see the inlet and just the sunshine coming up. It's just
really nice stretch of weather we're in right now.
So unique to be out here, and when we get sun, it's just awesome. I want to ask you this question about, have you ever been off-roading in a Jeep before?
Yeah.
And that was going to be part of the video, taking you off-roading. But unfortunately, we get to hang out next to the Jeep instead.
And what a fine Jeep it is. If I can just say, this is a pretty impressive piece of equipment you've got here.
It's been 2.5 years in the making. And well, as you can see, a constant, when you build something so custom, there's always troubles and problems that you're firefighting, and I guess that's a bad word to use for today.
Yes.
But you know, I would love to bring you off-roading when this is working, just to kind of get out and kind of experience why we like to go off-roading. And I appreciate you taking the time. Like, you've got a busy schedule leading up to the election.
Yeah, it is really busy. So to answer your original question, I haven't been off-roading as much as you have. I did when I was in high school. I had a friend that had one of those old late 80s Broncos, like you know, the original, the thing that you could just throw around and it would never break. And we used to have a little bit of fun with that, you know, I think we pushed that thing to its limits more than a few times, as 18-year-old teenagers will do.
Well, you know, or 40-year-old men as well.
So I think now, I'm in my 40s now. I got 3 kids. My life is pretty busy with my job and my kids, so I haven't gotten out much off-roading as of late. But in terms of camping, that is something I love to do. You know, I'm a father of 3 daughters. I really want them to enjoy the natural surroundings that we have, not only here in this beautiful riding and southern Vancouver Island, but it's a big, beautiful province we've got up here in BC, and it's just so worth exploring, right?
Yeah, and you know, that's the thing that really draws me to off-roading out here is there's so much of, well, even in your riding, that is really off-road only, or you need some sort of 4x4 capable vehicle, because it doesn't take long for where we are to get off of the paved roads, and you're bombing down Forestry Service roads and access roads. And, and there's so many great lakes and rivers and camping spots that are, you know, off the grid completely to get to. And that's why I love off-roading so much. And we've got all the camping set up, and we take the kids out.
And you know, something that people may not know about me, but in a previous life, I was a tree planter for 8 years.
I did know that.
And so what you just told me, you know, I used to have to take those Forest Service road maps and try and find the block that my crew was planting that day. And I have been on some serious adventures, let me tell you, with a truck full of trees in the back, and trying to find some small block that we had to plant that day. And there have been some pretty intense situations. So maybe that was actually my most recent off-roading experience.
Was when you were tree planting. Yes. Well, we need to get that updated at some point for sure. The big point for me to talk about here, segueing off that, is keeping access, keeping the ability to still go out and get to some of these lakes and some of these rivers. You know, there's a lot of discussion I see on Facebook forums and as well within the Four-Wheel Drive Association of BC. There's always talk about, oh, this trail has been gated or blocked off. You know, something that's really important to me on the southern Vancouver Island is maintaining that access, because it's a unique scenario with Mosaic and the
private
controlled access. And it's really unlike anywhere else that I go off-roading in British Columbia, and it's a hot topic all the time.
I hear you.
For me, it's frustrating because I can't always know whether I can get to somewhere that I want to go camping. You know, you may encounter a gate that was never there, or even last spring we were out and I was going down a route that I went the previous fall, and there's a gate there now, and it completely throws your whole trip off. And so it's just great to talk to you a little bit about that. I'll talk to anybody that wants to hear what's important about off-roading here on the island, but you'll hear it all the time. Gates and Mosaic are big topics. So.
And no easy answer to that. Like as you said in your intro, this is a unique situation on southern Vancouver Island because so much of the land here is private timberlands, and it's not like crown land in much of the rest of British Columbia, where you know that land is held in right of the crown. It's basically public lands, and access is a little bit more free, maybe in some areas. But I've seen that, you know, in my trips. I don't know if I go down some of the gnarly roads that you do.
You don't get quite as far out.
But on times when I've been out there, just even with my pickup truck and the camper on the back, you know, you'll see some little spur road that you have driven past hundreds of times, and then suddenly it's got a gate up. So that's got to be incredibly frustrating because no one posts a notice about that.
They're really hard to manage.
You made all the effort to pack up and go and explore your favorite little hidden lake somewhere, and suddenly there's a gate across. So
it's tough, you know, and you know, like. Exactly. You may have a whole plan of where you're going, and 5 kilometers in, you're like, oh, I can't get there.
Yeah, that's got to be incredibly frustrating.
Especially when you got the kids and everybody's packed up, ready to have a good time, that kind of thing.
Well, I have on occasion spoken to members from Mosaic before. Like sometimes they do send a lobby group to Ottawa to make us aware of their concerns, and they have come to my office every now and then. So you know, if I get the opportunity, I'll keep that one in the back of my mind, that concern about access, and I'll do what I can to speak to Mosaic about it, and maybe I'll report back to you one day.
Give me a call. Okay. I'll come and have a chat anytime.
Sure thing.
So one of the things that really interests me is you've got, like you said, a crazy busy schedule, a lot going on. What is there an average day in the life for Alistair McGregor?
So to answer that question, I think I gotta split it into two, right? Because my life in Ottawa is very different from my life here in the riding. When I'm here in the riding, I get to return to my own home every night. I get to see my kids, and I try to make my work day a little bit more normal so that it's working around when my kids will be home from school and so on. Ottawa can be absolutely crazy. You know, because we have a relatively small caucus in the NDP, each individual member of our caucus has to take on more responsibility. So there was one point where I was responsible for 3 committees and I had to do my House duty. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of responsibilities. You are assigned time when you have to be in the House of Commons for that day's debate. You might be a critic for a government bill that's coming up, so you have to lead the debate on behalf of your own party. At committee, you might have a very high-profile witness that is appearing that day, or you are examining and reviewing a really complex piece of legislation. And you got to remember, all of our proceedings in the House of Commons are public. So if you go and it appears that you are unprepared, not only are your colleagues going to know right away, but also the constituents that I represent. So it's a lot of pressure every day. Like, there's an immense amount of reading, and you really have to know your stuff. But I treat every day as a learning opportunity, and I make use of those long flights between here and Ottawa to really catch up on my emails and make sure that I'm well prepared for the weekend.
The only time you have,
right.
It's sort of like being on YouTube all the time, right? Everybody's watching.
Sure. Yeah, but it is a very unique job. Like, it is very long hours, but I find that the days pass really quickly because you're not doing the same constant thing through the whole day. Your schedule's broken up. You're always doing something different, and before you know it, suddenly 8 p.m. and 12 hours have just disappeared. So yeah,
that's a wild day. Yeah. So there really is no average day in the life.
No average day,
but they're always busy. I think
always
is what I'm hearing.
Indeed. And that, I'll say this about every MP, they are all incredibly busy. You got to think, like, the average population size of our ridings is about 100,000 people, right? That's what they're aiming for. So that's a lot of people to look after and a lot of responsibilities in Ottawa. So yeah, it's quite the life.
These next 2 questions are kind of fun questions.
Yeah.
Do you have any crazy stories you can tell us about your time in Ottawa or in the House of Commons?
Probably not like too extreme, but I would say like probably one of the craziest things I saw, some of your viewers might remember Jody Wilson-Raybould and the SNC-Lavalin debacle that happened in 2019. And I point that out because I was actually present when she appeared before the committee. So just a little bit of backstory, she was serving as the Minister of Justice and Attorney General at the time, and there had been some pressure from the Prime Minister to intervene in a possible prosecution against SNC-Lavalin, which is like a huge Quebec-based company. It's got offices all over the world, but there have also been some really disturbing corruption allegations. And so there was some pressure on her to intervene in the case, and an Attorney General is not supposed to intervene, right? Once the Attorney General hat is on and not Minister of Justice, they are supposed to let justice take its course. It's supposed to be free of political interference. So she refused the Prime Minister, and it blew up in the media, and she appeared as a witness. And I think it was just really remarkable to be in that room that day, because it's very rare that you will see an MP stand up not only to their own party, but to the Prime Minister. And so that's what made it really unique. And I think it took a lot of courage, and I have a lot of admiration for Jody Wilson-Raybould because she called out the Prime Minister, she called out his bad behavior, and it was just really insane being in the committee room that day with all the media attention. Like, the media were just packed in there, and just kind of watching history unfold that day.
I gotta say, that would be just like
a front row seat
out-of-body experience. You're just thinking, how did I get here and what am I doing?
Yes,
I am part of what's going on right now.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
You know, that's crazy. I always kind of think of that whenever I meet people that I never thought I would, even just meeting yourself. Yeah. It's just sitting down here to have a chat with my local member of parliament. It's like, who am I? What am I doing? Right?
Well, it's funny because we're like, everyone who serves in the House of Commons, it's called the House of Commons for a reason, right? It's because it's made up of commoners. I serve with people who come from all kinds of backgrounds, like they're electricians, they're tradespeople, they're farmers, small business owners, and I think that's what makes the strength of the institution so apparent. They all represent different areas of Canada, but they all have these different life experiences, which really adds to the important national conversation that we have.
It brings a lot of flavor.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that is distinctly different in Canada versus our friends to the south, which a lot of you guys appreciate you watching and subscribing, live in the United States as well as Canada. And that's a huge difference that I notice, is that the people representing us at the federal level in the House of Commons are common people, and hence the name, right?
Yeah, so, up here in Canada, we have very strict spending limits during an election campaign and very strict donation limits. So you don't need to be a millionaire like you do in the United States to run for Congress. Like I know down south, the elected officials, especially for Congress, they have to spend a lot of their time raising millions of dollars for their next election campaign, whereas we don't have to do that. So money, the influence of money in our politics is greatly diminished, and it does allow people from all walks of life to put their hand up and say, yeah, you know what, I want to serve. I want to make my community and this country a better place. And I think that's something that, it's a privilege for us up here, for sure.
Yeah, it certainly fascinates me a lot more than American politics in that we can, anybody can, like I said, rise up and take the microphone and try to represent their community, and it really is representative of the community. You're not some multi-millionaire, billionaire guy out here looking for donations from huge corporations and lobbyists and interests, right?
We're not allowed to do that. Yeah.
So you really do need to listen to the community, because the community is who votes you in at the end of the day.
Absolutely, and it means that, like, for my constituents who are like barely scraping by, right? They don't have money to donate to my campaign, but their voice is just as important, and I really want to make sure that their voices are listened to. So it's I think it's a feature that we have to make sure that we really look after here in Canada. Absolutely.
Yeah. Have you ever met anybody that these guys would recognize their name of? Famous politicians, have you met Justin Trudeau or Mark Carney or President Trump or previous President Biden? Who is the most famous that you can think of, a well-known person?
I would probably say it's former U.S. President Barack Obama. Near the end of his term, he made a visit to Ottawa, so it would have been like June of 2016. And, it wasn't a very long meeting. I kind of rushed to the area after he had addressed the House of Commons, and he was kind of coming out of the chamber down the red carpets, and we just got a little moment where we got to say hi to one another.
That's super cool.
But, I was as far away from him as you are to me right now, and so being that close to any U.S. president is very rare, because as you can imagine, the security was very tight on the hill that day. There were Secret Service agents and RCMP everywhere. In terms of the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, like, that's the other feature of our politics, is the Prime Minister is in the House of Commons on most days during question periods. So you are in the same room as that individual. So yes, I don't get to speak to the Prime Minister a lot. They are very busy people, but I'm definitely in the same room as they are, like the House of Commons chamber.
I feel like, and maybe you can describe it, but the first time you walked into the House of Commons. Now, Alistair's been representing our community since 2015, so you've seen a lot of stuff go on, a lot of change go on, but what was it like walking into the House of Commons for the first time after being elected?
Oh, that was a really special moment for me. So about 2 weeks after I was first elected in October of 2015, I went to Ottawa for my orientation session, right? Because there's a lot of stuff you have to learn how to do. You have to learn how to be an MP. You need to know the procedures and practices of the House of Commons. You need to know how to manage a budget, hire staff, set up an office. It's like drinking water out of a fire hose. There's a lot of information.
There's a good explanation.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the House of Commons chamber before, but only ever up in the visitor gallery. I'd never been down on the floor. And so during this orientation session, I went out on my lunch break and I thought, what the heck, I'm going to go walk over to Center Block and take a walk down the hallway, right where the entrance of the House of Commons chamber is. And I was kind of peering through the stained glass door. One of the security guards saw me and said, "Oh, do you want to go in?" And I said, "Can I?" And she said, "Yes, you're now an MP. Of course, let me get the key for you."
That would be so cool.
So my first experience in the House of Commons was she unlocked the door, let me in, and closed the door behind me. And I had the entire chamber to myself. And it was a really fascinating experience, because I was standing there on the floor of this chamber where, like, all the great historical debates of our country have taken place. And I know it sounds a little geeky, but it's almost, you can like hear the echoes of history in that special place. And yeah, it was just a really special moment. And I don't think for those of us served that we take enough time to pause to remember where we are actually, because most days it's just like another workplace, but it is a very special place.
The first time. I think if I was ever in that position, I would just be completely frozen. And
it's pretty cool.
If
you're in Ottawa one day, I'll take you in there.
I would love to. That'd be awesome. So with everything going on, I mean, we do have an election going on here. There's a chance you may or may not return to the House of Commons. What is important to Alister McGregor right now?
What's important to me is, I've just got such a deep love for this region and the people in it, and I just really want to make sure that if I'm fortunate enough to be able to represent them or someone else, I just always want to make sure that the people who live in this beautiful area have a strong voice in Ottawa. I know from having spoken to a lot of people here, like once you get past the anxiety that exists concerning our relations with the United States right now. I mean, we love our American neighbors, but things aren't going so well between our countries. But beneath that, we have a lot of people who are very concerned about the state of healthcare in our country, about the environment, about the cost of living. And I think, we do have solutions on addressing those. So I just want to make sure that whatever happens after April 28th, that those issues remain a top priority. We have a lot of people in our community who are suffering quite a lot right now. They need our help because, I'm a firm believer as a good social democrat that when you start lifting people up, it's going to make your whole community a better and safer place to live in. So that's, it comes from my deep love of the folks that live here. I just want to make sure that they're looked after.
I have a saying that I say all the time, and a rising tide raises all ships.
Yes.
It's similar when it comes to politics and local politics.
Yeah, and I just want your listeners to know that, yes, I'm standing here as a proud New Democrat, but I firmly believe that most people don't fit into neat political boxes. I think if you were to talk to most Americans and most Canadians, they would probably see something in each of the party's platforms that they can identify with. And honestly, when I've worked in Ottawa, I've got some amazing colleagues who are Conservative MPs, who are Liberal MPs, and a couple of Green MPs, even the separatist Bloc Québécois, because I admire the person and the dedication they bring. And I honestly think that for all members of Parliament, no matter what political party they belong to, I do believe that they are motivated by similar things. They want to do right by their community, and they want to make this country a better place. Where the politics comes into play is that we just sometimes have different ideas on how to achieve those things. And that's good, because politics is set up so that you can have that debate. And I just want everyone, I want our politics to reach a state where we can have disagreements but not hate each other.
Yeah.
We got to get back to a state where we're coming together and our disagreements don't isolate us into warring tribes, if you know what I mean. Right?
Yeah, you got to get back to business, and business is business. Yeah. No, I think that's a great message, and I appreciate hearing that, because I think we lose perspective of that.
I think so,
with things like social media and the messaging coming out.
Yeah,
and
it can really
everybody's
torque
voice.
the opinions out there, right?
No, it's a great thing. Is there anything else for the folks at home that you want to share or talk about here?
Just an election is a great time for folks to really learn about their local candidates, about what the political parties are putting on offer. And, a healthy democracy doesn't just depend on the strength of the elected representatives you're sending to Ottawa, but it also depends on an informed and engaged electorate. So no matter what your political persuasion is, please do get involved. After all, this is a moment in time where you're electing folks who are going to go to Ottawa. They're going to make decisions for you that are going to have consequences for you. So it's really important to understand, you're putting a lot of trust on them. And if you're not going to participate in that democratic process, and if you're not going to cast a vote, you're essentially letting other members of your community who are going to cast votes make decisions on your behalf. So that's why it's really important that you take time. It doesn't take very long to go out and cast your vote. You're going to have 4 opportunities this weekend. There's advanced polls from Good Friday over to Easter Monday, and then the final day of voting is on Monday, April 28th. Yeah. So there's lots of opportunities to go out there and make your voice heard.
Thank you very much, Alister, for coming out here today.
Appreciate it, Casey.
And talking to us and just informing us a little bit about, I wanted to do something totally different, because everything I see in the news, reading everybody's statements about what they support and don't support, let's just talk about what you actually do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We only have 100,000 people representing or voting in our community.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a lot to really change what's going to happen for the next 4 years.
Very much so. Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome. Well, I think we can wrap up there.
Yeah.
Now I'll deal with my truck.
Huge thanks to Alistair for coming out and just talking with us, with me, for attempting to go for a ride in the Demon Air. 10 minutes later, we could have been a couple clicks up the trail and the Jeep could have caught on fire with the two of us in it. So Alistair's a great person, and I appreciate him taking time out of his super busy schedule to hang out with me, to talk to you guys, to talk to me and all that. But next step for the Deminator, well, we need to stop it from leaking fuel. Every time I fire it up right now, when it primes the fuel system, it spits fuel out one of the fuel hoses. And we can see where the issue is. We're not sure yet what's caused it. I need to get the truck over to Epic and the Ginger so he can pull it apart and have a look at it. But I can't even take it on the ferry off of Vancouver Island to Vancouver right now because it smells like fuel. I can't start it. As soon as I start it starts leaking fuel. So I'm going to try to get the fuel line put in. We've got one coming in on order, and I'm hoping that it will be safe enough to drive over to the mainland, because trailering a truck on the ferry is super expensive. But I think if we replace the fuel line, it'll be safe enough for now, and then we're going to do some more work, which I'll keep you guys up to date with. I think this just might be, I don't know what I think it might be, to be honest, guys. It's the Demon Air. I love this truck. It's like my dream truck. It's such an insane achievement to build that truck and have it. And I'm a car guy first and foremost. I love building stuff, hot rods, cars, everything. And to have that in an off-road vehicle is such an amazing accomplishment, and I want to keep it. But I don't know. I'm really nervous to drive it, guys. And not just because it might catch on fire, but what if this happened when I was 1,000 kilometers north in the middle of nowhere? Who knows what could happen? And it's, I'm a little concerned. I'm just kind of worried about taking it out too far. So it might just have to be something we use locally for single night camping, and I'll have to see what I do next. But right now I've canceled half of my trips over the last 6 months because of the truck having issues. I had to cancel taking the Demon Air out camping last weekend. And by the way, there's another video coming. My friend Mason, huge thank you. He works at Capit. He lent me his truck to take camping, so I could go out and get out with my friends. So I appreciate him a lot. I'll keep you guys posted on what's going on with the Deminator. If you're still here watching, I appreciate it, guys. This is not a video I wanted to make, or not how I wanted to make it. It was going to be a lot of fun going for a rip. And I hope that I have a chance to take other people out in the future and talk about our hobby and our passion. So thanks for watching this one, guys, and subscribe. Keep an eye on what's coming next and what we're doing on the channel. And leave me some comments. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. My name's Casey. I'll catch you guys in the next upload.